Good morning, good morning. I'm doing this as a test dual stream as well. So if anyone is also in out of a Discord, in Riley's Discord, then you can be in there as well. Just gonna give it a couple of minutes just to wait for some more people. But I'm also gonna be recording this, but it's not gonna record anyone's microphones. So if anyone does have questions, just feel free to ask them. This is basically like the best day for passing evals with ones that don't have consistency rule. With the main one being Apex. If you get them during the promo, which there's one now, you'll be able to get 80% off, pass it in one day, and then I think it's a $65 activation fee. So if you buy 2 accounts, you're pretty much 95% guaranteed to get a funded account just from one CPI trade. And it's super simple rules how to do it. We have 2 ways. The main way is using the most recent swing high and swing low on the 1 minute time frame where price is currently. So for example, I would put one here and I'd mark these out. You pretty much want to mark this out a couple of minutes before the news hits. And then all you're going to do is just basically place stop orders. If you're doing 2 accounts, you'll have a buy stop on one account, and then on another account, you'll have a sell stop. But CPI tends to just straight flush into its direction, unlike NFP, which tends to sometimes leave a wick before shooting down in its direction. So you'll have some people who like to just do a market execution and hope that they get in while the going's on that first candle. But because that first minute candle goes so fast, you probably might not get filled until like here. And if your TP is up there and then this candle starts to retrace back on itself, which happens quite a lot, then you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. And obviously, if you did a market execution on 2 accounts at the same time, trying to go long and short, there's a higher chance that you will just blow both accounts. So the safest option is to do it one of 2 ways. The swing high and swing low, so that when price is currently fluctuating on just a minute or 2 minutes before price, that there's a good equal distance away from each other. So sometimes if price is too close, like this is only 18 points away from the sell side and it's 20 points from the buy side, then you'll just want to adjust your stops a little bit so it looks visually in the middle. That's how you do it visually. But I also made an indicator on the which you can see on TradingView. So I did tag everyone in the prop. Reaper, can you stream again? I'm not able to watch it. Yeah, let me try. Good morning. Try and keep the voice to a minimum because I'm recording this. I'm also doing a class for the other Discord as well. So if you've got any questions, just put it in the chat. I'll see the questions in the chat window. And if you mute your mics, because I can hear myself coming through them. I'm just going to disconnect on Ice Tea and then reconnect. Just give me a sec. Entire screen. Yo, what's up? Okay, so is this working now for you guys? Can you see the stream? Yeah, you can see it. Cool. Sometimes Discord just does not like showing. So for those who are in both Discords, you might hear me answering questions that you've not asked. It's because I'm streaming to two accounts. So we're gonna start from the beginning anyway. Now there's more people. So CPI is pretty much my highest win rate for doing news sacrifices. Now you do this fully knowing that you're potentially going to lose either one or two accounts. So for those who aren't experienced, it's recommended to do it on cheap evals. So Apex has its 80% sale currently, so you can get two accounts for $40 each. The win rate's quite high with CPI because the candles tend to just flush straight up in a direction with only like a small wick most of the time. Sometimes it will happen where it will wick and then shoot down in its direction, or it will wick down and then shoot up. This is the risk that you have to take. But CPI, generally, and we'll find out because I'm going to do the whole of this year, the previous year, and we're just going to see how much of a straight flush it goes. Because if you have Top Step funded accounts, which me and Future have done, we've also traded CPI on our live accounts. Because if you're quick enough, you can get into the position. And even if you had two orders on the same account, only one of them is really going to get tagged in if you've got your buy stops and sell stops from a specific distance away. So the best ways to do it is either a swing high and a swing low, or, which I'm going to be testing today because of the indicator, I'm going to do 30 points from current price. So on TradingView, this is what the indicator looks like. So every time price is moving up and down, these two numbers fluctuate. And in the indicator, you can change it to however many points you want to do. So if you were doing NFP, I would probably do like 20 points to 30 points. And then CPI, generally 25 points is enough, but I'm going to test it with 30 just so I can see. With the CPI candles, usually they're about 100 points. So you don't have to worry about being tagged in late, because most of the time when you're doing your account challenges, so like the 50k Apex, when I pass those with CPI, it's literally just doing 20 points for 8 minis, which is about $3,200. So obviously the profit target is 3k, and there's no consistency on Apex evals, so it's okay to go like as much above the price as you want, because they'll still pass you even if you made $6,000, even though it was a 3k target. So I've wrote down the settings here. So if people do have accounts or need to write this down now so that they're ready for Tuesday, because on Tuesday I will do the live trading for CPI as well for both Discords. But the reason for this call is so that you can all get prepared beforehand. And like I say, if you're doing Top Step, which I'm probably going to risk one of my funded Top Step accounts and just do the same thing. I'll do a buy stop on one account and a sell stop on the same account, because the TP settings are quite quick at activating. And so on like a fresh funded, I only do them on fresh funded accounts because I don't want to risk the accounts that I've got buffers in already. And that's the benefit of having multiple accounts. So I would be doing 50 points, which is 2,000 minimum. Now, the cool thing is, because of the government shutdown, we actually have 2 months of delayed data, which is going to hit on next Tuesday. So it's likely that this candle is going to be bigger than normal. So if you don't have the indicator, I'm just going to get the link now and I'll put it in the chats. Because this is just another way visually, because I'm using this backtest data to basically see if we do it the points method from current price, see if it works more than doing the swing highs and lows, because some people get confused, like when price is already near a swing low and they don't move their stop. So like right now, price is literally from this swing. Like I was saying before, it's literally 12 points away. If the wicks are going to happen on CPI, they tend to be about 10 to 20 points. So that's why it's better to do the equal distance. So whatever the swing high was from price, right now it's 22 points. And the swing low is only 16 points. So I would adjust this down so visually it looks like we're in pretty much roughly in the middle. So yeah, so it's about 22 points. That was the whole reason for this indicator, because now it will tell you where the price values need to be so you can quickly do your buy and sell stops on Tradeovate or whatever you're using. If you're using accounts like Apex that have TradingView access, it is better to execute on Tradeovate because you can set your daily profit trigger and you'll just set it like a couple of $100 above whatever the target is. So on a 50k where you need 3k, I just put it at 3200, as well as having automatic TP settings so that when the buy stops are placed, it will automatically place the limit order, which will be your take profit order. So it will look like this when we do it. I'm just going to get the indicator just so we got the link. If there's any questions, ask them now just while I'm getting this link. Okay, so you're asking, what are the chances CPI will leave the wick in the bottom then go to the top? Most of the time it will leave some sort of wick, but CPI tends to leave like a smaller one because it's much more volatile than NFP. So that's the whole reason why we're doing this, to give breathing room. Because like I say, if you just had your orders like here and then price just bottom ticked your buy stop, but then activates your sell stop, then you're going to lose money both ways, essentially. So this is just the better way of doing buy stop and sell stops, just so that you've got some breathing room. So I've just put in the chat the TradingView indicator. By default, it's at 25 points. And like I say, when it comes to the actual stream on Tuesday, what I'm using this data for is to see what the average points away from current price is needed, because then you won't have to worry about swing highs and lows if it's going to straight flush. NFP, if anyone traded it last time, we all kind of got fucked, because even though we had our orders at the swing highs and lows, because the wick was so big and the candle body literally started from here, as soon as it came up, we ended up getting filled on the wick like here. And so our TP was all the way up there, and NFP retraces quite quickly, just shot up, and then it retraces to get its data low. But then after the data low is swept, or data high if it was a bearish candle, most of the time it will just trace back up. So if you're quick enough, if your orders didn't get attached or you lost one account, your other account would have been safe, so you can quickly market execute when the data low has been taken. The data low is just the bottom of the wick on a 1 minute candle when news drops. So we class those as data highs and lows. And then if you're doing ICT, then your draw would be the low. So once the low gets swept, then you will look for continuations up, and it will tend to just keep traveling in that distance. But CPI, as we'll see, tends to have a smaller wick, roughly about 5 to 10 points. So like I say, if your price is like 20 points away or 25 points away, there's a higher chance that both of your orders are not going to be tagged in, and you'll pass one account. The indicator is free as well that I've put in there. Yeah, it was just unfortunate NFP had a massive wick, and because it was such a big wick, most of us got filled on the wick itself, which is very heavy slippage, which is why we didn't get our TPs hit, and it just flushed down. And so I lost one account, but then all you had to do was just wait for the data load to get taken, then just take a market execution, and then I passed my other account that way. Well, I traded the fair value gap continuation, but if I was not telling people how to do it, or people crying about losing accounts, I was literally gonna like just market execute once the data low was swept, because then all price did was just continue traveling back up. So does that make sense so far? I think the only other accounts that have no consistency rule and no news rules in evals is potentially Tradeify, but Apex is the main one that I use unless it's Top Step, because there's no rules in the funded to have news trades. And like I say, because CPI is a lot cleaner, it's safer for me to do a buy stop and sell stop on the same account. Which again, this data is going to back up. So even though we won't go through like every CPI, we'll go through like 3 or 4, just so I can show you how I'm using the indicator now. And then I'll basically post the results to say how successful was it, where you could just put an order on one account. So if people don't want to risk 2 accounts, what is the win rate of just sacrificing one account to have the buy and sell stops on the same orders, basically. So here we go then. So the profit tools are here. These are just because, like I say, on Top Step, when you have a fresh live account, you only are allowed to use the 2 contracts first on a 50K. So, and I've done this before, like I'll show the live results. On one of my accounts in September, I made $3,000 in the funded stage by doing CPI. And like I say, if I've got more than one account, I'll always risk one account per month. But because of delays, I only managed to do September. And so this one is cooking up to be a really big one. So for reference, this is just 50 points, which is 2K on a 50K account. And again, if you're doing 25K, I've wrote down the ticks that you'll need just to make sure that you cover slippage. The commissions for Apex per mini contract are $4. So 100 ticks is 25 points for 3 minis. So you want to make sure that you're not just doing the straight $1,500 target because you'll have the commissions taken out. So if you just do a couple of ticks above to cover for slippage, then you'll be fine. Mo, can you mute your mic? Yeah. Right. So here we go. So like I say, if you're doing the swing highs and swing lows, they're going to be here. But just for the sake of the indicator, I want to see how the indicator does. Even though it's obviously visually simple, you're just doing it 30 points. It just saves you having to get the ruler out and measure it in real time. So if this was real, Tradeify would be on my right, which is FX replay right now, and on my left part of the screen or my second screen would be trading view, so that I can keep an eye on these numbers. Because obviously when price is moving, these numbers are going to change. So right now it's saying 21,024. And you have to be quick, obviously, with NFP. So it doesn't matter if you're not like exactly on the decimal point, just as long as it's roughly 30 points away. Then you would set your buy stop a minute before. So if you are doing 2 accounts, do an incognito window so that you can log into your same account twice on TraderVate. Or if you want to risk it and do a trading view, then you're going to have to know exactly where to put your buy stop first, but then your buy limit, which will be your take profit. So because you're doing that in real time, you might fumble, which is why I recommend just doing it on TraderVate or TopStep, because you'll have your automatic take profit and stop losses set. So we're going to do $2,000. And like I say, if you're full pot in your accounts, which is the whole point on the evals, then like I say, you only need roughly 20 to 30 points to actually hit your target. So take profit, if you're doing a 50k account that has 50% consistency like TopStep, obviously you've got a $1,500 target. Now it's up to you to just do a straight 100 ticks, which is 25 points on free contracts, and you'll lose $15 in commissions, and you should be under the consistency. But again, with slippage, it's likely that you'll probably get stopped out for like 1,600 or 1,550 or whatever. So then it's up to you. If you don't want your profit target to change on TopStep and take profit, then you're gonna have to like purposely try lose some money that same day or whatever before your drawdown changes. And then 25k take profit is a $750 target. So I would just do 76 ticks, which is $760, which will take $10 off for commissions. And if you don't want to work out the ticks value, then you can do what I also do, which is set the daily profit trigger, as I've said before, $100 to $200 above whatever the target is. If you want Apex, if you want take profit, then just do it for the exact amount so that you don't make too much over the consistency rule. But to be safe, in case my take profits fail, and I do this for TopStep, I'll make sure that it liquidates me at whatever the target is I set. So it would be 2k or 4k as a target on TopStep funded accounts. And even though I had a 2k target, when I did it on my live account, it actually took me out for 2,900. So I actually got $900 more, which was pretty cool. And that can happen with the slippage being so high. So all we have to do now is just, boom, price is flushed. And this is January 2025. And look at this goddamn candle. 747 ticks. So if you were doing 2 contracts like I was, that's $7,500 that you just made in a minute. Now what? And so obviously, as soon as one order gets tagged, you want to quickly cancel your other orders. So on TraderVate, just spam the cancel and exit all button. And if you was doing TopStep with the sell and buy stops on the same account, make sure you quickly cancel your other order, because if that does get tagged in later, then that's when you're going to risk getting banned for hedging accounts. But you're allowed to put pending orders. It doesn't affect your account. They don't class it as hedging because they're just resting orders. They're not active. And then what I've found, and I'm going to use this data now, is that CPI might run even more because, like I say, NFP tends to just retrace itself after this first minute candle, but CPI tends to just run like more and more for however long it takes. Like eventually it'll come down. So if you were still in that trade, you could have made $10,000 that day because your activation was here. And then look at the wick, under 5 points. So that's why I'm saying, like, it tends to be the cleaner one to do, which is why I like risking my live accounts on just CPI days. And that's just to get the buffer like speed run. Future did it as well. Like I don't know if he wants to say how much he made, but that was a good thing. I think he did a market execution, which is only recommended to do if you already had buffer in your account. If you was doing a fresh account, there is a chance that you could have got stopped out before it even went in its direction, because even though we just see the candle like flush straight up, obviously while it's moving, it's doing this on a very fast scale. Yeah, Future killed it. So even though we were 30 points away from price, 30 points were off the table. But if it is a 100-point candle as average, you still would have made bread. And you probably, like, I would have got taken out for like 4K, most likely. So that's what I'm saying. So when you do full port your Apex accounts, because they give you 10 contracts on a 50K, you only need 20 points, which is like roughly there. Like, that's nothing to get on a CPI candle. And then again, obviously you can hold it. So if you're on top step, you can just go auto break even as soon as you're triggered, and then try and be quick stopping out to cancel the account, basically. And this kept going in total. So now it's starting to retrace. So if you were seeing this in real time, I would just close out if you're still holding past this point. Ended up going $1,100 just on 2 contracts. Now imagine if you had your buffers made already on Top Step and you had like 3 or 4 contracts. You're making now like 20K, 25K. And Top Step doesn't give a shit. Like, it doesn't affect your payouts. And yeah, as Future's saying, with CPI, like I say, because it's a straight flush, it tends to not go back to your entry point anyway. So that's what I'm saying. If you want to hold, if you're doing a live account, then you can hold it. So that's going to be a win. And then we'll go on to the next one. So any questions now? Okay. So same thing. If you're doing the swing highs and lows, we need to just go to the next date, sorry. I don't know why it doesn't like just type it. Okay. Okie dokie. So again, there's your rules. Any questions, guys, or does this make sense still? Like I say, we're just going to rinse and repeat now the same thing. All I'm doing for data collection is just to see what the win rate is for having just one account used. But yeah, like if you're wanting to get 2 accounts, then it's better to do Apex just because they're cheaper during the promos. And the current Apex sale is for 4 days from today, so you've still got time to get an account. So if we were doing the swing highs and lows method, then we've clearly got a swing high there and a swing low. But the same thing is happening. Like, we're super close to the swing low. We're only 7 points away, and we're roughly 30 points away for the buy side. So you'd want to adjust this so that you're equal distance, just to give yourself a chance. And so, like, doing it visually takes a bit longer. That's what the indicator's for. So it's telling me to put one at 21,795. Because that's going to be 30 points away. Oh, the chart's looking a bit dodgy on that one. There we go. Yeah. 21,855. So really, that should be safe enough to do it anyway. And then same thing. So I'd say these candles should rip just in the straight direction. So we've got 795 and 855. So you're doing this a couple minutes before news, obviously. And then again, same thing, buy stop. When you're doing it on your evals, you don't need to place a sell stop, a stop loss, because you're risking your whole account to do that. But just for the data collection, I'm just making sure that if this was a real account, I'm going to see if my stop loss gets tagged. If it does end up wicking up before shooting down. So we'll just do it roughly. Reaper, what should I do for my Top Step XFA account? Yeah, so you want to set your profit trigger. And like I said, we're going to use it sparingly. So if it's a fresh 50k account, then just have your risk settings to liquidate your position at like $2,000. Because like I say, if 100 points is the average candle size and we're getting triggered 30 points from current price, then you've only got 70 points to take. So you can hope that the slippage takes you out at like a higher profit, which is what I did. Like I said, when I did it in September, it was set to liquidate $2,000 and it ended up taking me out for $2,900, which I'm not complaining about. But like I'm saying, like my theory is, because we've still got 2 months delayed data, which is going to be in this current CPI that's coming, I reckon we're going to have like a bigger push. And yeah, you do it with 2 contracts, but the data is also going to show me at the end of the year, and I'm going to do 2024 as well, the data will tell me what is the average points I can get if I'm placing an order 25 to 30 points away from current price. Because that's just the easiest for people that haven't done it before, that are not using swing highs and lows. So boom. So this one tagged us in for sells. And again, a 255 point candle for 10k. Now, it was a good idea, because look at the size of this wick this time. It was 25 points of wick. So for those that were doing market executions, they would have been blasted on potentially both accounts. Because if you're full pot in a 50k apex, 3,200 is 20 points, but your $2,500 drawdown is like 17 points. So you would have lost 2 accounts, basically. This is why I stress to people, it's better to have it spaced out, because you'll have a higher chance of only one order being triggered. And then we can see what CPI does to see if it keeps trailing down, which it is. But it's better just to exit out as soon as the candle's finished, instead of like risking losing more profit. Because if you were not happy with taking 10k or 2k, then you deserve to lose money, basically. Just being real. Because again, you're already risking like your whole account. There's no point being greedy and trying to take 30k and then just watch price come all the way back up. But obviously with Top Step, spam that auto break even button as soon as that candle shot up, like most of the way. So even after we got activated, we still managed to get $9,000 just from that candle alone, even though we lost $60, 60 points of potential profit. Yeah, Mo, I don't know about Alpha. I've never traded them, but they're not using Project X anymore, are they? I don't think so. I'm not using a trailing stop. No, there's no stop loss whatsoever. You could, if you're on Top Step and you're risking your live account, then obviously you can trail. But because that minute candle's just so volatile anyway, you might as well just take whatever it is. The 30 seconds looks pretty much the same. Like this was the 30-second, and then the minute. The minute still ended here. Where the wick is. It was just the candle bodies on the 30-second. So, but again, you don't need to worry about that. Like, when you're doing the swing highs and lows method, the 30-second and 1 minute is pretty much going to be the same anyway. But that's why I'm saying it's better to just keep it on the 1 minute, because most people might not have 30 seconds showing. But yeah, you would have made a shit ton of money there. So then we go to the next day. And like I said, I'll do this live for Tuesday as well. But Shaz, you might as well just come into Ice-T. No one's fucking bothered about Capital Complex, it seems. I'll close the Capital Complex Discord down to save resources if you want to jump into Ice-T. Yeah, just bear with me, guys. No, stay in this one, Ken. There's literally no one in Capital except for Shaz. There's no point me staying on that stream. Everyone's in this one anyway, so our Discord is the better Discord. Right. Welcome back, Shazzy. Okay, so let's go to the same day on FX Replay. If you've got any questions while I'm getting this up, you can put your microphones back on for a couple of minutes. Okay, so that's March 12th. Again, same rules. So if you want to screenshot this now so that you know ahead of time, then do that. The indicator shouldn't be locked. It's been made public. The only thing that's private is the source code. The name of the indicator is NQ bracket lines CPI NFP. I posted it above. It should work. But yeah, if you are on the essential plan or the free plan, I think you can only have 2 indicators max. It's worth doing the Top Step account, but I would probably just do the non-activation fee route, unless you don't mind paying $90 for 2 accounts. Yeah. So, like I say, I think it's like $50, right, in America for the non-activation 50Ks.
Yeah, it's $90 for the one where you don't have to activate it afterwards, I think.
Yeah, but like I say, the whole point of this is because I trade CPI on my live account, so I'm only doing it on 1 account. So once I finish doing the I thought he was asking me for a coffee then. I'll have one. One frappuccino, please. Oh, Kenny, you're talking to your wife, your girlfriend. Yeah, the whole point of this data collection is to tell you if I think it's worth just using 1 account for if you're doing it on Top Step, for example. But obviously, bear in mind with Top Step, you've got that consistency rule in the funded, in the eval, sorry. which is why I recommend doing like when it's NFP and CPI close to each other, which we did just have, but this last NFP literally cooked most of us because of the massive slippage and wick. But CPI is a lot cleaner. So if you searched NQ bracket line CPI NFP, it should show up in the public indicators library. If not, the link is there again. And like I say, default is at 25. I'm just doing 30 just to check the data, because if 30 is overkill and it's when I go back on the trades and it looks like I only needed 25 points for most of it, then obviously I'll recommend 25. But I think because of that last CPI that just did a 25-point wick, I think 30 points is the safer option if we're going under the assumption that it's 100 points minimum on a CPI candle. So Apex could full port one CPI and then full port the funded. Well, you can't do it on Apex. Once you're in funded, you cannot do news trading. That's why I'm saying Top Step is the only account that I will risk a live account on, because there's no news rules. So this day, this is March 12th, the swing highs and lows look pretty much equal distance apart, which is cool. And we'll just see what the points value is. 20 points. 25. So I'm going to keep these on there just for reference, but I'm going to use the indicators pricing just to make sure that it's 30 points, just to keep the data consistent. So 1624. And 564. No, that's actually right. No, did I change this to 25? No. Yeah, I keep forgetting that FX Replay, if you put 829 as the backtest date, it'll do it a minute before. So 624 is correct. 564. So now we've got 30 points distance away. So I'm going to use these. And again, if you're doing Top Step funded, then you've only got 2K to risk. But this is also why I like doing Apex evals, because you have $2,500 drawdown. So you actually have a higher chance of passing those accounts without losing your buffer. Okay. Yeah, so the only thing with Top Step, like I say, what Future's saying, like, this is taking all of the guesswork out of it. If you just do this method, you don't have to risk losing on a market execution, because you're giving yourself proper breathing room when it comes to CPI. The only issue is with Top Step is their bloody servers tend to break down. Right. So let's see how this one goes. So again, so there's 50 points, 50 points. Boom. Straight flush. And this one was a nice wick. It had 7 points of wick. So this is what I'm tracking as well, is, like I say, just from my live testing, I believe the average wick size on CPI is like 5 to 10 points. So we will cancel our sell stop. So we got tagged in here. 2K was smashed easily. And the candle ended with 165 points. So you managed to get, if you got filled out correctly, the max you would have made was $6,500 on this one. Onward 40 is no longer working. It ended at the end of December. If you still have dash 25, I don't know if that still works for Top Step. But yeah, so 22? No, that's a lie. 22 is how many I've had total. But with CPI, I've passed about 12, I think. Yeah, I know. It's like I say, it's free money day. Literally every trader does this. They just don't openly post about it. Yeah, so like I say, if I was, yeah, just make sure if you're doing the group trade option in Tradeovate that you've got your daily profits set, your daily profit trigger set for everything, because then all you have to do is just place your buy stop and sell stop order with no ATM selected, because it won't use the ATMs. All right. I haven't used anything other than Tradeovate, so I'm just sticking to what I know. So yeah, so even on this trade, the swing point method also worked, which is something I should have been keeping an eye on. So we had the swing point worked on both trades. So far we're 3 for 3, just using either option, the swing high and low method or the equal distance method. Because that was the whole reason for the indicator anyways, because what I was noticing anyway, and I've done this live, like on the last CPI, price was already near the swing point, right? So like, say this was it. This is where it was marked, but I ended up pushing it up a little bit higher just so that it was equal distance. So really both methods should work with CPI. But for me, just to be safe, I think 30 points is a good distance because I don't want to risk both orders getting attacked, getting tagged in, obviously on a funded Top Step, because then they'll class it as hedging. Yeah, and I wouldn't use micros, as Reeb is saying, because you'll end up paying more on commissions than you would just with a mini. So like on Top Step, I believe it's $2.80 per mini contract commission. So if you're doing 2 minis, you're only losing $5 in commission. Take Profit Trader is $5 per contract on a mini, and Apex is roughly $4 on a mini contract. So that's why I have the thing set here. So even though you're doing a 3K target on an Apex account, for example, 20 points on 8 contracts should cover your commissions cost and any slippage, because that'll be 3,200. So when you get closed out, like I did on NFP, 3,200 was my take profit trigger, and after commissions all said and done, it was $3,135, which was still a pass, obviously, because you needed 3K. So the swing method is working on both. Well, you're ideally doing it on a fresh account, aren't you? So the whole reason you would use a live account is to get that buffer, that 2K buffer out of the way, and then just trading 4 normal days at normal size. So for me, if I made, and this is exactly what I did last time, I made 3K on the live account. I literally just went for $150 each day just to secure a payout, and then it still left me with like 1,500 or 2K in profit or whatever. That's why it's better instead of just I mean, you could go heavier after the first day, but again, this is just a way of speed running the buffer essentially. And then that way you'll have access to all of your contracts. So then if you do like trading with 3 contracts, which is what I normally do, then you've got 4K buffer to work with, and then I can take the same trades I would normally take, but just with an extra contract. And then again, it depends on your psychology and your trading method. But like, say you made that 2K profit, then obviously 4 more days, you're probably going to make like just under $1,000 or whatever, and then just take the 50% payout and then use it to buy more accounts, and then just scale in that way. That way you can go heavier on some accounts and lighter on other accounts, and that's how you maintain money. That's what I've done. Like, I currently now have 10 active accounts. I'm not trading every single one the same way, especially Top Step, because there's no news, so I can just hold them or just save them for CPI days.
Hedging rules then, Fox, just to make sure I've understood that then.
Yeah.
Mind you keeping the orders in as long as you don't get tagged, they don't see that as hedging, is that right?
Yeah, because they're just resting orders. Because some people will trade, just with limit orders. Like our gold signal group, they'll do a plan on a live account or a prop account to have a sell price. So they'll have a limit price set and then a buy price. As long as both orders don't get tagged, you're not technically hedging. Because they're not active trades. Because like hedging would also be if you went on NQ and did a market buy and then went on MNQ and did a market sell. That would be classed as hedging because the pairs are also correlated. If you did a buy and sell on Top Step, you're not really going to make money. You'll lose 2K and make 2K, so you're back to break even. So there's no point risking doing a market execution that way. That's just dumb, in my opinion. But if you have buy stop and sell stops placed, further apart, like what we're doing with CPI, then you're good as long as they don't both get tagged. But again, that is the risk you take. So we'll just do one more so that I can have dinner. And then I'll continue backtesting this tonight, and then I'll post the results in Discord. So the next one was April 10. Boom. Okay. Usually when it's like red folder news, like the candles will be quite small, like these ones. But right now, like in April, because this was during tariffs, price was a lot more volatile, and like these candles alone are like 30 points. So it'll be interesting to see if 30 points holds for this. We'll just see what occurs. So we've got 18771. And if you're doing the swing highs and lows, then that would be the swing point. And then that would be the swing low. And then you're just quickly measuring to see the distance. So this is actually 40 points away from the buy stop and 33. So on this day, we probably need to go more than 30 points. But just for the data, I'm going to stick with the 30 points because that should technically be overkill anyway. So we'll see. So 1811. So that's 30 points away. I'll just make it a different color. And then 18771. And like I say, if you already won like 1 month on CPI, then obviously if you're trading your account properly, you wouldn't need to trade again on another CPI day. So even if you had like a 50% win rate per account, you're still making decent money off it, especially if you're holding it. So this one's going to be interesting to see which one gets filled. It's hard to get it exact. And doing it this way as well means you don't need to like analyze what price is doing. Like, we're heavily bearish for the day. But even what I've noticed as well, even if the news is good, it doesn't mean that the CPI candle is going to actually go bullish. Because I've seen it on NFP where it's been good news, but it's just dumped. So I don't take no consideration into like what the statistics actually say. This is just a mechanical way. So this was something I was trying to bring up before, because like Shaz knows we're both after like the holy grail of mechanical trading, but I think the only real mechanical trading method is this, because you don't need to do any analysis. You just literally put it 30 points away and place 2 orders, and then just pray to the market gods that you get tagged in. Boom. Look at the size of that wick. Another 22 points. So the swing point method worked, just like we are 3 points away from getting tagged in on the wrong side. But I'm going to mark it as a win. So that's so far, that's 4 straight wins. So if you're risking 1 account, then you've passed like 4 accounts basically, or 8 accounts if you were risking 2 accounts. Yeah, so that's what I do. Keep a top step account, because I've got multiple top step accounts. I don't need to risk all of them for CPI. It's just one of them just guarantees a payout, and then that's like my month sorted. So when we got tagged in, this carried on going for 95 points. So the full candle itself, from where it opened to the wick, was 135 points. So this is why I'm saying like go for 2K to 4K on average if you're doing a live account top step. And again, if this was real eval accounts, then you only needed 20 points, which was easily done. So that's 4 wins on each.
Why are you trying to bring it quite back and tagged out?
Yeah, like this could have happened. It could have activated our sell stop on this wick if this wick came just a few more points below, and then did its move. So the whole idea behind the swing highs and lows is that they're just a safe distance instead of placing an order here. Because if you did a buy on a full port account and you're, like say on a 50k account, your stop loss for 2500 on 8 contracts is roughly about 17 points. So you would have, even though the trade went in the right direction, you would have got stopped out before it even went to place.
I guess my question is, what do you get 50 to 70?
Yeah, you can do. So, but like I say, I'm just basing this on data that I've already got. The 25 to 30 points is pretty much enough. Or you rely on the swing method, the swing highs and lows. Like I say, the whole point of the backtesting now is just to have it locked in, so that it's not me just bullshitting. Because, like I say, I have done this live, like all of last year pretty much, but the points was different when on one of my top step accounts, which is in the prop firms channel. I actually had the buy stop. It was 16 points away from price, and it actually wicked into it, but thankfully top step didn't activate, and then it sold off. And it was a safer position on the sell because it was about 25 points away. I was flustered when I was doing it live that I didn't move my buy stop up enough. So again, that was like a risk. So on average, 30 points away from wherever the current price is, the minute or 30 seconds before the news candle drops, on CPI should be enough. And like I say, even the whole point of it is, if I can still get 50 points from being tagged in 30 points, then it proves worth the risk on top step live accounts. and you're only trading 2 contracts. But if you're doing 3 or 4, whatever, you can place it further if you want. But imagine you did it here. And what happened with NFP was the body was so small in comparison to the wick. It was literally like this. That everyone's orders didn't get filled until here because the wick was where all of the slippage was, because it wasn't like a clean activation when the body was forming. So even though the direction was correct and the buy orders were correct, it just flushed down and body closed and took everyone out. But with CPI, let's say the wicks tend to be cleaner. So you safer still doing just 30 points. It just makes sense. So we'll just do one more just so that we've got 5 out of the way. But so far, no matter what method, because Riley teaches the swing high and swing low method, the only reason I was changing to equal distance is because, like I said, if I'm marking the swing high and swing low and price is here, so the buy stop is like 43 points away from being activated, but my sell stop is 30 points, then all I was doing was just manually moving it lower anyway. So this is why I'm just saying, like, both methods work, but to be safer, it's just better to do an equal distance in real time. Does that make sense? So we'll do May and then we'll wrap it up. Just so that we can get 5 trades out of the way. And like I say, if you were doing 2 accounts, this same method, then you would have had 8 accounts passed so far. And 4 of them probably got payouts if you were doing on live accounts. People have asked, should they do it on a personal account? Now, obviously you can, because there's less rules, but the hedging rule is still a thing, I think. So don't quote me on it. But the whole reason why I wouldn't do it on a personal account is because of your brokers using different. If you're using a Forex prop, for example, every broker is going to put you in at a different price, and the slippage might end up getting your margin called, and then you end up owing the broker money. So that's why I only recommend doing this on prop firms, because who gives a shit if you lose a $90 account at the end of the day? Me. No. Like I say, I'm doing Apex as the main one. But if you're doing Take Profit Trader and Top Step with the 50% consistency rule, then obviously you can trade the week where NFP and CPI are close together. Most of the time, or when I've done it in both weeks, like NFP was literally like 2 days before CPI or whatever. But this time NFP was this week and then CPI is next week. But again, we've got 2 months of delayed data, so I'm probably assuming that this news candle is going to be massive because it's going to contain 2 months of data. Because the October one was the last official release, but that didn't cover. Oh, we had CPI in December, sorry, on the 18th, but that was only October's data. And now we've got November and December to come in. And if you missed the first trade that we did in January 2025, that candle was literally like a 300, 400 point candle for some reason, which is crazy. So you could have made like 12K if you were risking a funded account. So if it was big then, when there was like no delayed data, imagine what it's going to be like now. But again, I'd still probably do 4K as like the max to try take. So before we just continue, like I say, normally CPI will keep running for a little bit. Doesn't look like it's doing on this one though. Yeah, so this is a prime example of not every time is it going to constantly run up more. It did a tiny bit. This is quite rare to see it act like NFP, where it literally just retraces back on itself. So if you were doing your orders in Top Step, make sure you're spamming the break even button here so that you don't lose money. But I would just close out as soon as that minute candle's over, just to secure money and have again your auto liquidate risk settings in Top Step and Tradeovate active before you do it. Okay, so next one was May. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like this is kind of stressful in the moment. Even though you're going into it knowing that you're probably going to lose both accounts. Even though I've got a high win rate with it, it still makes me nervous. Because like I'd rather have the accounts win obviously than lose. Yeah, well that's what I did last time. Like I said, Top Step when I did it, it had a 2K target. Price took me out for 2,900, so it gave me more money than I was after. And I think it ended up running like 7.2K, which would have been good. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was doing, but I was just chasing the payout instead of just running them up because the other accounts get traded normally anyway. So this will be the last one for the stream, and then I'll go get dinner. So May 13th. There, you can all feel free to put your mics on if you want to chat, because I think you get it now what we're doing. Yeah. So okay, here's a odd example. We've done nothing but trade up pre-market. So really we don't have any swing high or lows to work from because they've already been taken. So we're going to have to just rely on the 30-point method for this. So that was a 20-point candle pre-news, which is annoying. So 30 points away from where price is right now. 21,017. Shit. And like I say, even though I do get nervous, I obviously am prepared to lose an account because that's the whole reason why we're doing this. This just helps with scaling. Like, it's a good idea to obviously know how to trade and be comfortable with your trading method. But after a while, especially with me going full time, like I don't want to be sitting around in just like one account. I want to make sure that I've got 5 accounts on the back burner that I can use to trade different products and different times, and just no longer copy trade them so that I can make use of the drawdown for each account. So that way it's like I'm still trading with like 45k unfunded because of the drawdowns like combined or whatever. It just helps mentally for me now that I'm doing it full time. But then it also lets you go aggressive on a couple of accounts and then trade smaller size, but on the same method you would normally trade, just to make sure that you're preserving your capital. Potentially, yeah. But like I say, if it's again, it all depends. Like, is it your first account or is it?
No, I passed the Top Step account before.
Okay.
I passed the account before. It's not my first.
But it all comes down to, like I say, collecting your own data to know what your win rate is overall if you specifically trade like the same way. Because if you take that confidence boost from passing the first account, there's no reason not to like go heavier on another eval. But again, it just depends on, you know, your psychology and stuff. Like, are you more comfortable risking 400 per trade to make 400? That comes down to your preference. Like, I can't tell you go heavier. It's just what I do because I know that I can pass accounts trading normally, and I know I can pass accounts doing this way, which is a cheat code essentially. That just comes down to your own data and if you're confident with however you trade. It depends. Like I say, because I trade ICC as like the main bias. When I'm going, Yeah, I know. Like, but what I've explained to Shaz as well is like, if I know the ICC level, once price has done whatever it's doing and it starts breaking its bearish structure and it comes to it and it's in New York, if my data has shown me a 70% win rate for going to 1-to-1 for 50 points stop loss and 50 points take profit, then this is why I do 3 contracts, because now those same 3 contracts is making me 1500 and I don't have to be in the trade longer than a couple of minutes because I'm expecting that bounce to come up. And usually what happens if you track the 30 seconds of 1 minute, that we'll get a small boost above, then it'll come down, and then you've got a second entry which you can potentially then hold the second time because now you've got money on the day and you can risk going even heavier potentially, or just go with one contract and just let that run. That information doesn't come until you collect data on it and live data and stuff like that. Like all of my data that I've actually got journaled is just live. I only just started backtesting my entries on a mechanical system, which is not how I trade real because it's discretion based. I want to see things as they happen. But knowing my live traded data is 70% win rate, so 2.5 RR, I know I can then risk heavier. And it again comes down to, well, I have other accounts that I can risk that on. But even with Apex, the 25k accounts, I'm only going for 22 points, which is $450 because that's the consistency rule. So yeah, so like as Reaper says, like if you've got a profitable strategy, then go heavy. If it's taking you 7 months, it's not worth paying 7 months of subscription fees. At some point, you're going to have to make that switch to be like, think of it as you've got 20 trading days. How many trades do I need to pass in 10 days? Because obviously not every day is going to be like a clean trading day. And with ICC, like I don't trade every day. With ICC. That's fucking typical. Every time I want to show the freaking actual journal, it's got maintenance. But I showed you it before anyway. And like I say, most of the trades I'm just like in and out because I know that if it's hitting a zone, just like a fair value gap, if I'm expecting the fair value gap to be respected in the direction, I don't want it to bounce up and then instantly come below, potentially wick me out, and then trade back above it. Like I'm expecting on the higher time frame gaps to just flash up. And if I can get average 30 points, then I can do 3 contracts for 12 points, which is $750, or hold it for 25 points. That just comes down to your own data set. So let's just wrap this up. Let's see how this final CPI goes. So again, this one's kind of a curveball because we just literally flushed up. Literally in the last hour and a half, it's already done like 4K of profit if you're on 2 contracts. And there's no structure highs and lows to go off. So it'll be interesting if now that we've had this like big bullish candle, even though it's only 23 points, do we wick down first before going up? Or do we just flush down to take out all of these trades? So let's see. So this one was dodgy as fuck, and it tagged us both directions, which was kind of anticipated, which is kind of crazy. So 30 points. I didn't leave my tools on. So that even stopped us out for like 50 points. Well, it didn't stop us out. It just wicked us out on both entries. So we got, like, who would have thought that it would do 40 point of a wick this time? So even if you had a 50 point stop loss, you're still getting taken out on the sell order. And realistically, if you're doing 8 contracts on Apex, then you've only got 17 points. And then this was a horrible body close, and it didn't even get 50 points from our entry. It just missed it by like 2 ticks. So obviously you'd be spamming auto break even or closing. Ideally, you just want to close your trade as soon as that minute candle's over. We'll see if it ran up. Yeah. Like if you went break even, you probably would have got stopped out, obviously. Yeah. So that's kind of crazy that we had this like big bull run. It was kind of like up in the air. So if I see this, I'm probably not going to trade that for real. Because it's better to have structure points. But it'd be interesting. Was that all-time high? No. I was just seeing if that was the most recent all-time high. But yeah, whatever happened here. Again, April and May was like all the tariff argument shit. So really, like bigger stop losses would be needed. But that's unfortunate. So out of 5 trades, we've lost 1. And then, like I say, it depends because Monday's no news. So I'm hoping to pass my overtop step on a trade with that. And I'll be hosting the live call in Riley's. And then I've got to take profit eval as well. I didn't want to be responsible for everybody, like everyone coming for the free stream and shit. So I'll just host it in the futures chat, and I'll be hosting in this Discord as well, just to see. Because ideally, yeah, like if I pass my top step before Tuesday, then I'll definitely risk a top step account because I'm back down to 1 now. Just liquidated the other ones, and I've got to take profit. The other thing that I was doing as well was to see how many times after that minute is over, how many times does CPI keep going up? Because then you can use your TPT pros. Because it'll be a minute after news. So that's what I'm going to do with the data. But yeah, not bad. The first 4 months worked. So when I finish doing 2025, I'm going to do 2024, and then I'll post the results in Discord. And then I'll just put a caption at the end saying, "Is it worth risking 1 account?" I'll probably say yes. If the win rate's like 80%, then it's worth risking 1 account if you don't want to buy 2 accounts. But yeah, any other questions before we wrap up? Yeah, Apex is 8% off. You can use code Jayway or Sync. And then Take Profit Trader still has the 40% discount. So you can use the code Sync or CC. And that's on every size. So the 25k Take Profit Traders are $90, which is what I pretty much only trade because the $1,500 target and $1,500 stop loss. So they're a lot quicker, personally, for me to pass, and you don't have to like make double the amount of your drawdown like you do in the 50k account. But I mean, ideally, risk Apex because they're so cheap. Because essentially you're paying for an instant funded Apex account at that point, as long as both orders don't get tagged, obviously. Anybody else? Any questions? Yeah, but I mean, so far this has only happened like this once so far. Yeah, but that's fine. Like it doesn't really bother me that much because, like I say, if you're doing 2k or 4k on the live account, take that 2k, you're still left with 2k if you've made 4k on it, which is enough. Like I say, that's more than enough. I normally trade it when I have like $1,000 of drawdown, and then all I'm doing is just, instead of risking a mini, I'm just going to 5 micros and just do the same thing. But yeah, I mean, it's all pay to win at the end of the day. It's all prop firms. Like, you're not really risking $2,000, are you? You're risking $50 or $100 or whatever. All right, that's it for the call. Thanks for joining. We're literally an hour and a half into it, which is good. And again, on CPI day on Tuesday, I'll be in the Discord streaming half an hour before CPI. So, like I say, screenshot this so that you can have your ATM settings if you're using Tradeovate or take profit amount set to whatever you need for these. And then that way you're not panicking when it comes to CPI day. Okay? All right. Take care, everybody.